Okay? So I thought, let's open up our eyes and let's talk a little bit about the fields that are ripe for harvest, the fields that are a little bit tougher. And so I want to start with North America. There's these different continents. And so you're aware of what's happening in the world today. So take North America, United States of America, and Canada. You can combine it with Europe, and you can combine it with Australia. And you probably all realize that in some sense, Christianity is on a downward path, which is kind of a shame. Now, in the United States, I've shared with you that the younger generation, 40%, say they're not interested in God. I have a funny feeling, by the way, that maybe they're hurt or have a lot of pain, and it would not surprise me that they're way more open to the answer to life than they may let on. Like I've noticed, when I witness the atheists think about God all the time. And I find that they're actually pretty easy to come to the Lord if they see Jesus in you in reality. You live out Jesus, and people are very open to something that's real, okay? Something real. But these countries are going downhill. It's our job as a church, let's live out Jesus in our country, and let's turn around what's occurring in North America, Europe, and Australia. Let's come to South America. South America is amazing. This whole continent is becoming like totally Christian, born again, on fire, spirit-filled, Pentecostal. It is like, wow. Oh, by the way, the United States, the United States sends out 50,000 men and women to the rest of the world to share Jesus. 50,000. There's been this great blessing upon our country over the last 150 years to have the privilege to be the number one sending country of missionaries to the rest of the world. But I must tell you that Brazil is the number 2 country in the whole world that sends out now 30,000 missionaries. In the next 20 years, it is predicted that Brazil will be sending out more missionaries than the United States. And Brazil, of the 30,000 missionaries they send out, they actually send out a couple thousand to our country to help us out. They feel bad because long ago, we brought the gospel to them, and they're like, hey, we got to take the gospel back to our mother, the people that brought us the gospel. But almost all of South America is turning to Jesus like crazy. It's this amazing movement. The harvest is reaping and church planting, and it's incredible. Russia is kind of a mixed bag. There are Alliance International workers there. They are very hungry for the Lord. Even after 180 years of communism and atheism, the people actually are very open to Jesus. But they live in a very strange country and a political climate, and I'm not going to say anything more so I don't get targeted by the Russians. So let's pray for them. China, you may know, has persecuted for a long time Christians, which has only helped the church to grow. And so China has the largest evangelical church in the world. There are 200 million evangelical, born-again, Bible-believing Christians in China. We have 300 million, 330 million in the United States. Their church is predicted to be as big as all of our population is in the United States. So it's incredible. But the government controls them. It's still kind of persecuting. So China's not super able to send out missionaries yet. But it's a ticking time bomb for Jesus Christ. It's incredible what's happening. I think they have 1 billion people. But it's incredible how the church is growing in China. India, the same thing. The Lord's moving. and doing some wonderful things. I want to talk about Africa. So in our church, LifePointe Alliance right here, we have people from China that attend our church, that are part of it. We have people from India that are part of our church. We have, you saw Tamiwa. She sings in the worship team. Tamiwa is from Nigeria, which is kind of, I don't know, the west side in the bay kind of. So Tamiwa is from Nigeria. We have two families, Alardis and Hale, and Rio and Carl, that are part of the church. In fact, they're becoming members. And they're from South Africa, at the bottom nation of Africa. And I kiddingly said, I bet you're missionaries at the last service. I bet you're secret missionaries to the United States. And they were like, you know our secret, disguised as computer engineers or something like that. The bottom 2/3 of Africa is going Christian like crazy. And in fact, in 20 years, of all the continents, Africa will have the most evangelical Christians. Africa is where, in 20 years, even though South America, what's interesting about this is the gospel is moving in the southern part. Where it had moved in the northern part, now the gospel is moving in the south. But Africa will be the most significant continent that will have the most believers that will impact the world. So I share all this because sometimes you may get down a little bit about what's happening in the United States, and no doubt there's lots of good believers in the United States, and we can make a difference. But I want you to understand that people are being reached in nations all over, and God's doing amazing things in some of these nations.